enough.
All right. Call to order the Planning Commission meeting for January 3rd, 2022. If we could start with roll call attendance.
Sure. Mr. Simile,
Here.
Mr. Betcher,
Here.
Mr. Blathers,
Here.
Mr. Marks.
Here.
Mr. Scott is not present. Do we have a motion to excuse Mr. Scott?
Motion to excuse. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Let's see. I know we don't technically have anyone registered to speak tonight, but we will give you a chance to speak when we get to that section. Is there anything else that we need to review before we go into?
Approve the minutes.
Oh, the minutes, sorry, yes, that. All right, so motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So next we have variance request for a fence at 6222 Mayflower Avenue. Mr. Donellan, any?
Yeah, just a quick background on Mr. Putoff fill in as well. The property owners at 6222 Mayflower, the Schwales, who are here this evening, had made a request for a permit to construct a fence in the rear yard and partially on the side yard at 6 foot height. Mr. Putoff and Mr. Hurt denied the application because our code mandates that fences in the rear yard, except the fence on the back property line, cannot exceed 4 feet. On the back property line, it can be up to 6 feet in height. They made a request that they want to extend the 6 foot height down both sides of the rear yard. As I understand the application, bring it forward to about halfway down the side yard of their home on one side to be able to shelter or shield the recycling and garbage cans. On the other side, so it connects with their back door of their home, because the reason for the requested variance is their dogs, and they want to make sure that their dogs can freely roam around the backyard. And with the size of the dogs, the concern was with a 4 foot high fence, the dogs may be able to escape. Unlike many of our applications, they requested permission and not forgiveness. So thank you for that.
Bonus points, right?
Thank you for that.
To be determined.
To be determined. Notice was given to surrounding property owners that the variance request was made and will be heard tonight before the Planning Commission. So that's what we're here tonight, to listen to the applicants, the reason for their appeal for a variance, let the Planning Commission then ask questions, discuss it. The Planning Commission's options are to deny the variance, or the Planning Commission can approve the variance with conditions, or the Planning Commission could defer action on it, requesting more information, which we've done in other cases when there was requests for more landscaping or redesign and so forth of the fence. Mr. Putoff, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you pretty well covered it.
Well, then, Mr. and Mrs. Schwales, would you like to step up and explain to us your request for a variance?
Certainly. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting us come and talk to you. I will say, Mr. Donlin, you covered a lot of it fairly well. I did address most of it in the letter and the application, so if you were able to read through that and look at the photos, I think that did cover some of it. The one thing I would note is that with the 6 foot fence that we're planning and hoping to build, what we're doing there is matching the pre-existing fencing that is there with all of our neighbors. 3 of the sides of the yard are already partially fenced or fully fenced. So the rear portion of the yard is fenced, and then the left and the right portion of the yard are fenced partially. And so we want to bring those fully forward all the way around.
Quick question. The existing fence on left and right, are those currently 6 feet
Yes.
tall? Okay.
Yes. Both sides.
Is it on both sides or just one side?
Both sides. So one comes much farther forward than the other. It's fairly difficult to see.
So let's get back here coming up first.
Are you adding, it looked to me like you're wanting to add like 65 feet of fencing from
I have
the one side down toward your house, right?
Yeah,
Right, okay, and then only like 24 feet on the other side.
yeah.
The photos you gave us, and thank you, for 6218, which facing your house would be to the right. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So there is a 6-foot high fence,
Yes,
and that comes basically in line with the rear building line of that house and does not extend down the side yard at all.
yes, I believe.
Are you proposing to attach to that fence?
Build off of that and come forward to our house.
So you're gonna come off the corner of their fence, come forward, just past the steps from your side door, and then have a gate in there on the sidewalk?
Mhm.
Okay. First of all, do you have any type of an easement or agreement with the neighbor to allow you to cross the property line and attach to their fence?
We have a verbal agreement with the neighbor, but we have not put it to paper yet.
Okay. The photographs you submitted, when I'm looking at the backyard of your home, I can see 6218 on the left, 6222 on the right. Doesn't look like there's any fence between the 2 yards.
There's a partial fence, right?
So if you look at that photo, it does look like it's jumbled. There's not much of a fencing there. It's actually multiple layers of fencing. So it is fully fenced and overgrown along the rear yard there.
I wonder, but on the one side, there's no fence for the majority of the yard, right?
Yeah, so it
Right.
comes out, if I'm remembering, about 12 feet. Do you remember?
Well, I think it's less than that.
Oh, okay.
So in this photo,
Right.
if I'm
Mhm.
to my right, behind me is fence between the 2 yards.
You're actually,
No, there's a partial fence. I think you look at the
That's-
drawing,
You're
look at the
standing at
drawing.
the
I think it's
fence.
easier to see the drawing. That shows what they're trying to actually do.
So the drawing shows
There.
maybe 20 feet of fence and then it stops, and then we see that open area that you just showed on the photograph.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
So there's a little bit of fence
Yeah.
on
Right.
So yeah, that's
the
what I
one
was saying.
side there on the
And then
left.
that's open to your neighbor's yard completely right now.
yeah,
And you want to bring it on that side as well, down past your back building line to be able to shield the garbage cans and recycling.
on the left side, looking at it with this photo.
Where that dot is for the 65-foot line.
Yeah.
It actually cuts across the yard, our neighbor's yard. That's their back fence as well. So it's their back fence, and then there's a divot into our yard, and then our back fence, and then,
So they have a fence that goes from that dotted line to the left?
yes, and it
Okay.
extends to their neighbor's house as well.
So what you're proposing is bringing 65 feet of fence to get to the back edge of what is their house, I guess. And then 27 additional feet to get to somewhere along the south side of your house, so it matches what's on the other side of the house. Is that correct?
Correct. The patio, the concrete patio extends down the side, and so we have some storage area there
Okay.
that we want to enclose in the fence.
All right, that's what, and that's what you're saying is missing 3 foot of gate on that side.
Yeah, because this isn't close enough in to be able to put that full image there.
Okay.
The other thing I would say, looking at this
I see what you're,
paper, this PDF right here on the left side, there was a fence there. So there are post holes already,
That was a metal fence,
It was
like
a
a
metal
cyclone
fence.
fence,
I believe so.
and you took that out?
We did not, the previous owners did. We've had to pull maybe one post that was left in.
oh, is that what those posts are leaning against the side of your house?
Yeah, they are post trees at this point.
Yeah, those
They
trees.
were near the
Yeah.
concrete piece, so we were able to basically jiggle them out.
Okay.
You say we.
Yes, it's we.
Of course.
Most of us know what we means.
Be correct to say that.
I supervised.
Did we have a variance for the 6218 fence?
I was, no, I do not have one. I'm the owner of 6218.
So,
I applied for a 4-foot fence on the side of the house and then a 6-foot along the back edge. And I was approved. I have a permit,
But it's a 6-foot fence. How tall is that fence on the side?
6 foot.
You mean that partial fence or the whole?
What-
Oh, I see what you're saying.
when did you apply for a permit that was approved for a 6-foot high fence?
About May
And you applied here?
2021. Yeah. I'm looking for a permit if people need to retrieve that later.
I wasn't here, so. I was on the commission.
Mr. Putoff, do you have any record of that?
At my house I do.
Oh,
What was your fence?
6218.
Mayflower?
which is in this one picture here.
Right.
It's in a couple of pictures, actually. Because that's a 6218 fence in the photo with the air conditioner in, right?
No, I do not.
I don't have a folder for that address.
I spoke with an individual on the phone and then he dropped it off at my house in my mailbox, like the next day.
A permit was dropped off?
Yes.
Mhm.
And then I
Well, there wouldn't be a permit, there would be an application for a zoning
Oh,
certificate.
that's what it was, okay.
Yeah, because a permit wouldn't have been granted until variance was granted.
That was right when we were going through it, so,
Yeah, May.
yeah, she was still, so,
Oh.
Either way, the matter is for the Schwales.
Yeah, we should discuss there. The other one's a different issue. No, you don't have to be sorry. We're just trying to understand.
The verbal agreement to attach to your fence, is that,
That, I give them full permission.
all right?
And how about on the other side, the other neighbor?
We have discussed that with them and they do want the fence extended, they're just not here today.
They're in support, I've spoken to them.
So they have approved it?
Mhm.
Yeah, because you're gonna need more than just a handshake.
Oh, I know.
You're gonna need a recorded easement.
I haven't drafted it up yet.
Okay. So when you go to sell your house at some point in time,
I understand. I haven't made it clear, but I'm actually a law professor. I just haven't drafted or done any of this yet because I was waiting to see how the variance went.
since your fence comes out a little farther
Mhm.
toward the front, is there any thoughts of making yours more of a decorative top to get to the 6 foot?
Well, at the
Like
moment,
shadow boxes on top?
we were hoping to do just a plain wooden fence, particularly because it matches all the fence in the surrounding area. So, no, it would also add to the cost of it.
Mhm.
And we also just bought the house this year. Well, I guess last year.
What are you saying? That if you look at the drawing,
Yeah, where it's
that's
now.
where it says 24 feet, or is that where you're saying it
Yeah.
should be decorative?
No, we're
No.
asking if that's something the planning commission would like to, because it is coming out farther to the street. And the view you would get from the street would be a decorative top on the left and the right side of the house. It would allow it to go to 6 feet.
Mhm.
And like we've done before,
Yeah.
to put a shadow box top on that. And probably if we'd had a variance for the other property, we would have requested the same thing where it
Yes,
faces the
that's
street.
So the plan is to not leave it a plain pine, but to actually stain it and take care of it. I also just tend to prefer sort of simple. So that was my only thought.
So where would the decorative need to be when you get beyond the back of the house?
What we've done in the past is where it's more visible from the street, we would request a decorative top here and there.
But not to the
No,
side.
just the
Just the
areas
front
facing the
facing.
street.
Yeah,
And likely if there had been a variance hearing for the neighbors, it would have had the same thing. Where
right,
it connects horizontally or perpendicular to the house,
yeah.
we would have requested a decorative.
So the front facing part's not the
Right.
east-west parts.
Right.
I guess is what.
Because it would be very expensive to make the entire fence.
Oh, yeah, you have to tear it down.
But it is a variance and you are allowed to set conditions on a variance.
Yeah, I agree with you that having the decorative top on just those pieces that come from the side of the house out.
The problem is that I'm looking at the drawing, it's a gate. So can you do it, you can't do a decorative top on a gate.
Can you do
Sure you
it?
can.
Yeah,
I mean, the one that we did for, what was the? one?
Fremont,
Fremont, Maine.
On
that's a
Fremont.
decorative top.
That's a,
On
yeah,
a gate?
the one across the driveway.
Okay.
Yeah, those two, they're the big ones across the driveway. Yeah, they made those decorative tops.
So, Mr. Simley, if I could ask a question, please?
Mhm.
So I'm not sure how well you can see this. This is your property here.
Graceland.
Okay, so when I look at this and I look at your drawing here, it appears to me that your gate is here in the center of the building. Is that correct? Am I making the right assumption?
Yeah, it comes a little forward because we do not have a rear exit on our house. We have a side exit.
Mhm.
We need one and two.
So it looks like what you're proposing is your fence line would run somewhere between here and here.
It's
You can
not
see
that
that.
far forward, but yeah. More towards halfway point of the house.
And it's on the
So I
other side.
believe what this commission has done in the past is where the front plane of the fence is on the front plane of the house itself. I think there's been a requirement. I don't know that there has been a requirement to do a decorative top. I think if it extends on a side of a yard, such as the Mayflower Bremont property, it's been a requirement.
But not in between houses.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And even like with the Mayflower Fremont property, we did require or request decorative fencing alongside the return to the house, which was coming up past, I believe, to the front of the house,
Mhm.
but did not require it on the small section that was between houses on the other side.
I think that's correct. Or not,
I don't think we did.
right, I
And
think not.
this looks like it's hitting about midway between,
Yeah.
but the front and back of the house.
It doesn't bother me not to have. this correction.
I would agree. But before we get to that, I do know some of the other neighbors wanted to talk, so maybe we should hear from them first. You go ahead and have a seat, thanks.
When you speak, what we'll ask is your name and your address, because I'll need to make that a part of the record.
And anyone want to speak in relation or in regards to this matter? If you would just step up to the podium and give us your name and address, please.
My name is Karen Cole. I live on 6223 Graceland, and I believe my backyard directly goes on their backyard. I'm not sure if they can put the fence up without taking my chain link fence out, because I know there are some knotted up trees in the fence back there. Just want to say if that should be the case, that you have to cut that tree down back there, or it's like half on your property, half on mine. I'm fine with that, and even removing the chain link, I have no problem with that either.
But as I,
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
right now that fence is gonna stay as it is, but it is something that we are.
The one on the back,
The back one.
it's like on one side, it's all broken down.
Yeah, it does need to be replaced, but we haven't looked at replacing it yet.
Oh, okay.
Is it still
Right.
holding closest to yours?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but, absolutely, will before we do anything with it, we'll of course come talk.
I was just wondering if we can maybe fix this little piece that's missing.
Sure. I can look at,
Because-
good options for that.
Yeah, if I should get, well, I actually had to put my dog down a few days ago, but if I do get it, yeah, but if I have to, sorry, get another dog, I would prefer that fixed.
Absolutely.
Because usually my dogs manage to climb the fences. They do, so, yeah, that was actually it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cynthia A. Walker and Teddy D. Walker. We're at 6227 Graceland. And we just wanted to know how that impacts us because we're right next to Karen. So if you're facing the front of your house, well, yeah, we're right to the left. And I don't know if it's just that little corner, but we just wanted to know how that would impact us. And I don't know if it would, but since we're on the list from the letter, I just thought, we would come in just to see what was going on.
So is any part of that, the fence that they're attaching to your
No,
fence?
I don't think so, so that's why we wanted to come to make sure or to see what was going on. I mean, we wouldn't have any objection to you building a fence, but just wanted to know how it would impact our property. So,
Okay. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
There any other questions? Anyone else?
I didn't register to speak, but if you.
No, that's
allow me-
okay.
Okay.
Just, again, your name and address.
Jennifer Durka, I'm the owner of 6218 Mayflower. So I'm the property along the current 6-foot fence.
Oh.
If you look at the house, to the right of the house.
Mhm.
And I think that this fence, like I said, per our verbal agreement, I'm in agreement to extending the fence, and filling out an easement, once that comes to that. And then in addition, just in terms of safety, for the community, just having, pets, we don't want them running in the streets, causing any traffic accidents or, any further loss or hurt to animal life. Just because I do also have a pet, so just knowing that is one of my safety concerns, because that's one of my family members as well. And then in addition, it would be matching the existing fence that's there, so I think, looks wise, I think that would complement the fence that's currently at my house, so.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
I got just a couple follow-up questions. You're attaching your fence to 6222,
6218.
6218, and you're attaching your fence to the fence on the other side of your property too,
The 6226.
6226. Are you attaching your fence to the fence in the rear or constructing new?
We're not doing anything with the fence in the rear currently. That is, we will have to redo this whole building permit situation in the back later, because that requires fully tearing, like was just mentioned, tearing out current wood fence, current, chain link fencing and trees
Honeysuckle.
and honeysuckle.
Oh boy, the honeysuckle.
So the 6-foot fence that's on the rear property line now is on your property,
Yeah,
and you're just attaching to that.
yeah, so we're just pulling forward
Okay.
from what's already there. And leaving the rear, just pretending like it's fine.
Then how much room will it be behind your fence and neighbor's fence? And what's the plan on maintaining that?
For the current 6-foot in the rear?
Yeah.
We haven't established that fully because that is a later issue on what that'll look like.
Between the wood and the chain link, there's not even a foot of space at the moment. The wood fence is pretty old, and it's been eaten through by time and honeysuckle, and just time again. So it needs to be replaced, but at the moment it's being kind of held up essentially by the honeysuckle. So we figured it's something that we'll definitely have to look at this year. But we want to get the rest of the yard enclosed before we tackle that aspect of it. But there's not much space. There's a tree growing on one side. There's a dead tree that is kind of slowly collapsing in the middle of it. But like I said, for the moment, it seems to be solid enough that we can focus on enclosing the yard before working on replacing that side of the fence.
We're not looking for problems, but just to give you a heads up with high grass, weeds, unkept property, you still have responsibility to maintain that.
Of
It's
course.
this question of how do you get back there if you closed your property in on all sides and the neighbors don't have fences to get back there. Keep that in mind. You still have to maintain that.
Of course.
I understand.
As I understand it, that fence is already
6
like they can't, or they already don't have access because there's already fence coming up the sides.
That fence predates us.
Yeah.
And probably the.
There's an opening on
previous
the side of
homeowners
their
as well.
house to go around right now, but that'll be closed off completely and enclosed.
It's fully fenced through the other houses
Right.
going down a couple sides as well.
Because I know we had that issue with the case maybe last year, or the year before, of how are you gonna cut the grass? If you connected all the fences.
Mhm.
For what it's worth, at the moment, there's not any grass back there. There's maybe 4 feet from the wood fence to where our grass actually starts to grow. The rest is something that I imagine is, I hate to say it, but honeysuckle. It's a big problem back there, and it seems to have taken over most of the flora growth. But there's not a ton of grass that it grows very quickly at least. But it is easy to reach, and I can reach it with my mower. It's just, there's nothing back there to cut at the moment. Once it gets cleared out, then that can be, dealt with attaching, weed whacker, that kind of thing to take care of. But with where the fence is and the state of that small area, it's not a huge issue at the moment until we get that fence replaced and that honeysuckle torn out.
So does the commission have any questions?
I don't. Is there,
We would probably need, I'm in favor to grant the variance as requested. The only thing probably, I know that your mind is that we want the easements.
Yes, what we would typically say as a condition, and is before the fence is installed, have 2 easements that have been approved by the neighbors, ready for signature. We review it, approve it, and they get recorded, so that we know that that is secure for the future.
It's fine with me.
can we have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Any additional discussion? All
So
those,
the motion is to approve your variance.
Right.
The condition being to give us copies, and I'll give you my card, you can send it to me. We can review it, approve it, and you can go ahead and get the signatures and get it recorded and proceed with the fence. So that's the motion.
and we have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All right.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Nolan, you're going to follow up with correspondence?
I'm gonna give her my card and let them send this to me, and then I'll let you know that if we have the easements, they're gonna be signed and recorded, so the permit can be issued them for the fence construction.
Perfect. It's nice to meet you.
Good to meet you guys.
Welcome to the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're all here.
Thank you.
It's a great house. I've been in there.
Thanks. It's great now too. We're in there.
Yeah.
It was a very dog-friendly house.
Yes.
Nice. Question?
Works very well considering ours are massive.
Big old cups.
I saw that, about 75 pounds, you said?
Oh, they've gained weight.
Oh, winter weight?
Winter wheat, that's
No,
right.
they're still growing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
85 and 77.
What are they?
So they're red dogs. They're from the Navajo Reservation.
Oh.
They're just straight cattle, shepherds, something, but
Yeah, that's
A
awesome.
variety.
yeah, we
Yes.
moved here from the Navajo Nation. So
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Wow.
That's where we've been the last many years.
Okay.
Yeah, well, again, welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Yeah. And
Okay.
I do have a question. Moving on, not on this, next, over here.
All right, so then we have on here discussion on planning commission's role.
Yeah, we've, for the commission itself, we've got some exciting things happening with the village. This is an opportunity for us to really embrace economic development and go to the next level on some of the things that we've been working on for the last couple of years. If you take a look at the board behind you, there are two significant pieces of information that we're working from that have been done since 2019. One is the Technical Assistance Panel Study, or the TAP study, which was done by some independent consultants on the dime of the county to help us map out where the village of Gulf Manor is in its current state with regard to how we're perceived, where there may be some sweet spots for us to capitalize on, and how we continue to sustain the village going forward. The other piece of information we have is the We Thrive analysis, and that was also done by the county through Hamilton County Public Health, which gives us an idea of what our demographics look like and how the population in the village is changing. So we're definitely skewing to a younger crowd. We have more people in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic than we would have in the senior citizen demographic, which was the case many, many years ago. So what we need to do with this information, along with the census data, which we don't have yet, that's finalized from 2020, council needs to embark on creating a strategic plan for the village, and we've started that. We're working with a consultant called McBride Dale Clarion. We've done one listening session with council where we're talking about dividing the housing population into, I'm going to call it neighborhoods, in terms of determining where the population is sitting, where we may have opportunities for improving development. The second piece of, and that is actually, the village is actually paying to do that. The housing analysis is the second piece, which again, Hamilton County is funding for us, where we will be going door to door to each property, taking a look at the condition of the property and making some record of data to see what the housing stock in the village looks like and where we have opportunities to improve. The third piece of it is the development analysis that we're going to be working with a consultant called Urban Fast Forward, who will help us determine what kinds of development opportunities there might be, such as redeveloping the Stover cul-de-sac, taking a look at some of the housing issues we've had on the eastern end of Vera, looking at the Ridge Acres properties, those kinds of things. In order to support this, the Engagement Committee of Council is reorganizing in order to help support this function. And some of the biggest pieces of this are understanding where we are with education, where we are with communication with our residents, where we are with supporting the health and welfare of our residents through the We Thrive initiative through the county. Where you guys will come into this is supporting our code enforcement official, Mr. Putoff, in making sure that we have the policies and the ordinances, the tools available for him to be able to do his job. This is a perfect example this evening of how we have not done well in being consistent on identifying when there are things that are being done in the village. We're always cleaning up after the fact. Somebody has built a driveway that doesn't conform. Somebody's built a fence. Somebody has turned in a certificate request and we've not responded to it. And since Jim has been on since March of last year, we have started to tighten the control on that. One of the things that I would like this body to take a look at is the requiring of zoning certificates for all projects that take place on property, which would include building fences and building driveways. We are becoming of the belief that we need to know when these things are going on so we can monitor and make sure that things are in compliance with the building code. And there will be a bunch of other things like this. And I don't know, Jim, do you have any, I know we've talked about some of the things that need to be tightened up
Well, the dumpster pod ordinance, we definitely need that. I think, as far as zoning, we should have, zoning should be issued for roofs to make sure they're being put on per code. Driveways, which I was gonna talk to you about minimum concrete depth and, type of concrete for driveways and sidewalks.
You can even do it for blacktop as well, but.
And I'm looking at it more in protecting the citizens, like, these fly-by-night companies that put roofs on or do driveways and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And that's kind of what we should be doing, is looking out to protect those people. Some oversight that someone's looking at it to say, hey, this is not being done per code, and,
Well, there's been fencing contractors that have come in here and
well, yeah.
put fences in, like some poor lady was in
From
here
Fremont, yeah.
and she had a fence installed and, it was a 6-foot fence and we made her take it down but some contractor put it in.
Yep.
So you would think that the contractor should know better.
Well, and I think that's where we do not have a specific policy that says, and how do we communicate that says when you're doing a project with this, you have to get a zoning certificate. First and foremost, you may not need a building permit, but you need to let the zoning official or the code official in the village know that you're doing a project. And we need to have the ability to be aware of that and to make sure that, as Jim said, the resident is safe when these kinds of repairs are being made. The other thing that we've talked about for the last couple of years is doing landlord-tenant licensing, and that's something that's going to be back on the agenda for the executive committee this year. And that hopefully will lead to being able to support additional help for us, additional staffing to be able to be on top of these things going forward. This is really going to be a pivotal year for the village. Hopefully no more COVID, at least
It's starting out
interruptions.
very well, is it?
Yeah.
And
Somebody didn't get that
just,
memo.
we have other things that we were working on last year taken care of now. So I know you guys did not meet much last year, but that's, at this point in time, I would expect to see the planning commission meet monthly going forward. So I'm excited. I'm glad to work with this group, and we've got a lot to do.
And there were a lot of things that we had to put on hold 2 years ago.
Mhm.
We had a wonderful meeting with the president of the Cincinnati Apartment Association,
Charles Tassel.
who was supportive of us having a landlord licensing. And then COVID hit. And of course, they went through catastrophe with moratorium on evictions and people not paying and so forth. But he was very supportive of us putting something in place. They weren't asking for another layer of regulation so much as helping them to make sure everybody was on the same playing field relative to how their apartments are maintained. So that's a great one for us to pick up on. We had the vacant building, which again, we kind of put aside, particularly with the residential, because the foreclosures, the moratoriums. But now is the time to get back out there with some of the money,
Or,
add to our code so that when someone goes down there,
right,
they know, oh, you're going to do a driveway, here's the standards. Here's the standards, because they're the ones who do the inspections for us, theoretically.
right. But if they, with roofs, they typically don't do them. So if that falls back on us, then we need to look at, I don't have a problem doing it.
And the prominent roofing companies would applaud us for putting those standards in.
Well,
Because
it's
it
gonna
makes,
help them,
it
yeah.
makes everybody else play by the same rules.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think starting with those agencies is probably a good start.
Agreed.
And I could certainly reach out to them and get that done.
So Ken, for the February 7th meeting, can we put on the agenda a discussion about the information that you found on those?
Sure.
Cool, that's all I have.
I have
Okay.
one question. Regarding, you brought up the 2435 Fremont fence that we discussed months ago, and I know he's about ready to kill me maybe for bringing it up, but
But
where are we with that? And because it's sitting there, and I've seen her post socially about this, saying about the contractor's a terrible person and won't do anything. You know.
Yeah, that was in court. She pled guilty, because we cited her and we gave her till continuance until the end of the year, wasn't
I
it?
think
Yeah.
so, yeah.
And she apparently cannot get it moved. She's having a hard time with the contractor, which I don't know. I think we're probably forced, in a position where I'm gonna be forced to have to cite her again to get it back into court, because that's the only recourse we have.
We'll follow up with it.
Okay, because she's using social media. I think that's how she found. If I understand what I've seen it right, she found the
She found
contractor.
somebody on Nextdoor.
From, yeah, and now she's saying that person won't make good on it.
Contractor is a loose term.
And contractor was loose term, and then I think she mentioned Bill Spence, if I'm correct, that's saying that they would want, if they're gonna correct it, they're gonna take it all down and put all new in. So, this thing starts getting worked on social media, that's when you really have fun, because now you got lots of people seeing this.
Well, her first option is she can remove it.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be that hard to find somebody just to lop it off of the ground and take it out. That's what she needs to do to keep from being cited. Beyond that, that's her choice. But what I've seen where she's posted on social media is that she didn't know. Nobody told her. That's, there's an old adage about that.
Well, as
Ignorance.
Mr. Betts reminded us, we're still live, so maybe we wrap that discussion up as we will stay on top of it.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, is there anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? All right.
We have to follow up with it.
And we're offline.